So to start, maybe you could introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about Trimble so we can set a context and then we'll dig into some of the AI topics.
All right. My name is Frej Krook. I am the Google Workspace Manager, part of the IS team at Trimble. I manage the Google Workspace environment. I take care of more of the technical side of the house. I'm responsible for maintenance of the environment, implementing various things like, drive rules and DLP rules, working with cybersecurity and so on. But our team also has to socialize and train and kind of bring people up to speed and working in the Google environment. And that's where Liz comes in.
Yeah, so I'm Liz Mitchell. I work with Frej. I've been with Trimble for about 6-ish years now. I've just celebrated my anniversary. We're both based out of the Dayton office, Dayton, Ohio. And I handle kind of the people-focused part of our team. So that's going to be all of our training and engagement. So handouts, documentation, instructions, videos, and also when we do acquisitions, I work with a lot of those groups to help get them onboarded into the Google environment at Trimble. I oversee all of our training as well.
And as far as Trimble, also titled Why You Should Pay Any Attention to What We're Saying, Trimble is a multi-billion-dollar multinational company. We have about 14,000 employees. We are involved in oil and gas exploration, geospatial, agriculture, mineral extraction, transportation, construction. We have $1 billion of construction assets working with our software, something like 400 billion or 400 million acres of land digitized in our systems. We were behind the first handheld GPS, the first mobile GPS, the first marine GPS system. It's kind of the heart of what we do. And honestly, we've kind of moved into the data world, as now where GPS used to tell people where they were. Now we kind of tell you where your data is in relation to buildings and things like that, because they're all collections of data points. So we're very involved in 3D modeling and everything like that of construction and transportation and logistics and things like that. We have also, and it's kind of the important part of why we're here, we are very involved in training and in change management, because in the last, I think it's 12 years, Trimble has done 180 plus acquisitions, divestitures, and joint venture activities. So we're constantly bringing people and migrating people into the Google Workspace environment.
Yeah, super impressive. If you haven't heard of Trimble before, fat, big multi-ton vehicles on the road grading autonomously, agriculture, smart agriculture and saving on like all the pesticides. Amazing technology and amazing, group of people and brands.
I just have to admit, one of my favorite, because it's just cool to watch applications, is in agriculture, a part of Trimble going under the name of Bilberry, where normally if you see people, spraying pesticides on fields, you see this just kind of cloud of pesticides behind the vehicles and it's just broadcast. What Bilberry does is it actually in real time has cameras that look at the plants, decide what kind of plant it is and whether or not it needs pesticides, and then applies a specific amount just to that plant in real time while it's rolling through the field. So instead of this just kind of broadcast spray, you see a bunch of little sprayers just going pss, 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 and only applying the pesticide or fertilizer to exactly what needs that attention. So incredible time savings, money savings, and makes the everything healthier.
That's super cool. Within your area that you guys focus, like how do you think about the AI landscape and tooling and possibilities?
You want to start with this one?
There's a lot of possibilities, I would say, for Gemini. So we're just starting to roll it out at Trimble. We've been kind of working on it for about 6-9 months, something like that, with kind of a pilot group of users. We're up to about 220 right now, but adding more people every day, with a plan to roll it out to a couple thousand throughout the next year or so. And there's just a ton of possibilities with it. I think that's what we're really starting to see. And it all just kind of depends on who you are and what it is that you're doing. So the way that I use Gemini and the way that I use, sorry, microphone, I just touched you with my hand. The way that I use it is not going to be the same way that Frej uses it, and the same way that our engineers use it, and the same way that our training people use it. And that's kind of the beauty of, an AI that's so flexible. Yeah. So I don't know, you want to build on that?
Probably the biggest thing that we have to do, and we're used to this through all the migrations, is that you can't have a one-size-fits-all migration. First of all, you have different business areas. You have legal and you have finance. You don't have the developers who are usually the ones that are most ready to jump in, very quickly. You have people that are technophobes, even at a technical company, that you need to kind of bring along, people that have been with the company doing something one way for a long period of time that are resistant to transformation. We also cross cultures. So we have people that, generally speaking, are very loose, shall we say, with some of the privacy concerns in India that maybe they're far more concerned about in Finland, to the point where sometimes it's hard to do things. We have to deal with GDPR and all those other regulations globally. So we have to kind of customize our training and our transformation workshops in order to take into account the different audiences and the different cultures and the different ways that people have to work in order to make everything stick. So when we're looking at implementation of Gemini, which we're both very excited about doing, there's a lot of preliminary work that has to be done, gathering use cases, doing interviews, doing discovery to find out. We can't just, Gemini is not something you switch on and then publish an article and have people, just decide to pick it up. You'll never have adoption like that. You have to actually workshop it and show people what the possibilities are. I really liked that "what's my prompt" exercise, though. What I would love for people to do, honestly, is to try it in real time on their laptops and follow along and then tell everybody what their business idea was and actually kind of see how things were generated and kind of see the power. Because I want people to try it and then go, wow, okay, now I get it as far as how can I apply this to what I do, because there's no one size fits all. One of the examples, the reports. There are a set of reports that you can run out of the admin console where we look at the amount of time, amount of prompts that people have used and over time with Gemini. And Liz had the idea of mapping that to the amount of time that they had the Gemini license. And there's this kind of doldrums in like the 1 to 4 week user group where clearly they're not really sure what they're doing yet or how to apply it. And then the curve just takes off. As they start getting more time, they start realizing what those use cases are, and then they start applying it to their work. And then you see a lot more prompts start to appear. The other nice thing about that, I'm on a roll. The other nice thing about that is that one of those reports actually tells you the number of touches to the different Gemini apps, workspace apps, that people are doing. Like somebody could be very high in Drive, but not use it much in Docs or something like that, depending on what their work is. But what we did is we ran some reports for leadership saying we took those prompts, said you're saving 5 minutes per prompt, is just a guess. And then let's say that each person on average is $50 an hour, and they could substitute the numbers if they want. How much money did they save? And our friend, he used to work for us, Peyton, who is a project manager at Trimble right now in IS. I think the last report we had for a 30-day period, what, $22,000, $3,000 in savings? I think it was $2,700.
Something like that.
Yeah, $2,700 for what at the time was a bridge license. So it's kind of a worst case $36 a month subscription. So basically it paid for one paycheck of Peyton's for that 1 month period. And that cost savings goes right up with that curve. As people get familiar with it and use it and they reach out and start actually interacting with it, then you can really see the productivity benefits on the other side. And it's reflected in quality of work, quantity of work, how fast they can turn around requests for data, check on dates and things like that. Notebook LM, a huge tool for tying together different data sources that you have.
Yeah, I think to kind of summarize what Frej is saying is you have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
So the place that people are, at least at Trimble, because Google is our global communications collaboration platform. Every employee, 12,000 employees worldwide, is using Google. So great entry way to get them into AI. Meet them where they're at, meet them in Google, and use Gemini to get them kind of going in the right direction.
Yeah, AI is intimidating if you're not really plugged in technically, and we don't want anybody to feel that they're afraid of the technology or think that they're going to be replaced by the technology. It's a productivity enhancer, not a person replacer. Skynet is not going to start doing your email.
You never know.
Liz, not yet.
Not yet.
Liz, you said you're in our last session the human side of the change, right? Which I think is a great way to kind of put what we all have to do is transform humans in the organization. How did you go about building your group of users? You talked about 220 in this kind of 6-month project. How did you guys decide who's in, who's out, like to make this successful?
Yeah, so we first started with a POC. So we wanted to do a proof of concept, just see how this would work. And that was with about 100 users for about 3 months. And we really looked across the entire organization. This is, like Frey was saying, this is the kind of thing where developers or people that are very bleeding edge want to be the first ones to get in there. But we know that those aren't the only people that are going to benefit from it. So we wanted to really look across the entire organization and see, make sure we had a representation from HR, from finance, from people doing training, executives, and kind of just reached out to them. Some people were voluntold by their bosses that they were going to do this. And we also included like support people because ultimately it's support that has to help make sure that this is successful. And we kind of gave everybody a license and said, have at it. And we put together a support chat, which we actually are still using. And people can ask their questions, they can crowdsource information, and we've kind of just let it run from there. We do some training sessions every now and then. We're starting to do office hours with Google. Every other week, we have a Google rep who runs a office hour on Meet where they can just ask any question. And we've seen it as we've been doing that. I mean, right now I'm handling all of our Gemini license requests. Don't ask me why. And I've seen, especially over the last month or so, the requests go from maybe like 2 or 3 new users a week to 15, 20, 25, 30 roughly every week as people are starting to learn about it in the company and learn that this is an option.
And whole teams at one time.
Yeah.
She'll get a ticket for like 8 people, 12 people.
So, and it's just it's growing. It's kind of the worst kept secret in Trimble right now, that it's available for people to use.
And one of the most fun things is actually like the example I gave about one of our teams, our New Zealand team, that used to use an independent agency to do the transcripts from videos, and now they can do it in-house, and that savings of $400,000. That was a use case that I hadn't heard of until it was announced at one of our CEO's monthly kind of, update of the state of Trimble, as it were. That just came out, and I was like, really? They did that with Gemini? I didn't hear a thing. One of the most fun things about having so many business areas that are using Gemini is that people are using it in ways that, because I'm not in legal and I'm not in finance, I never imagined. And we get questions all the time where we're like, well, why would you do that? Well, who are we to ask? If that's something that is how you do work and this is something that'll help you, then sure. Then go ahead and use Gemini the best way in order to enhance your productivity and efficiency.
Those are great successes, right? And things you talked about in savings. Like, what kind of challenges did you have to overcome to get started, or are you still overcoming?
Oh gosh.
I think one of the biggest challenges is just getting people to try it.
Yeah.
I think that because it sort of looks like a search engine, people treat it like a search engine. They put in nice little short prompts because that's what they're used to. And then they get information commensurate with short little prompts, which is usually Gemini's trying to guess what you're talking about. So it's kind of a low hit rate on whether or not that information is accurate. So I think prompt engineering is probably the number one thing that we focus on. And as the prompts come together and then people start, oh, okay, now I understand how this is going, the 4 parts, the persona, the task, and all that. That's probably, I think, besides getting people to just sort of, touch it because it's AI, Skynet, understanding how to work with it. Liz was saying yesterday that we feel this is like one of the biggest skills that we're going to have to start teaching is how to interact with the AI to get the results out that are most applicable to the task you're doing.
Yeah, I think what's also really difficult just societally right now is that Gemini, AI is in everything, even things that you're like not expecting AI to or there to be an AI component to now. It's getting pushed on people in every aspect of their life. I literally was talking to my hairstylist the other day about AI. Like, what? Like, why were we talking? Don't ask me why we were talking about it, but we were. So it's just part of people's lives now. And that in and of itself can be really challenging because how do you know who to trust? What is it actually doing? Where is the data going? And then you have all these different articles and, all this media that people have to consume about AI. And we have to kind of be there to help guide the ship essentially to help be like, okay, some of this stuff sounds really scary, some of it's really overwhelming, you're hearing it everywhere, but also some of these elements have been around for a long time. Anybody who has been in school in the last 10 years has used Turnitin uses AI, or if you have kids that are in school, not the best AI model if you ask me, but so, I mean, it's been there even in Google itself. You have Smart Compose, you have suggested replies, like all that stuff is built on AI, but it didn't have a name for users before. And now they have something to associate, and trying to get over that kind of information overload, I think is really, really challenging.
Yeah, I think part of it is the service delivery, is that, AI for GPS, mapping to destinations, but people see that in terms of a service being provided rather than being open-ended thing that they can then kind of use for different things. So one of the things about the whose prompt is it, is that you're giving people some concrete examples. Like one of the most popular applications for Gemini so far has been vids, because it's a specific application that utilizes AI in the construction of the video. And it's just, we have people asking for Gemini just to get at vids, or just to get at Notebook LM as a separate
Yeah.
application.
Or
that they
take
wanna
notes for
use.
me and Meet.
Yeah, exactly.
Take notes for me and Meet is,
Yep.
I think, the single highest thing that people want it for. Like every feedback we get is about take notes for me. That is like the tool for people.
And if that's what we need to get people to get that Gemini license and get it on their systems, then we can follow up and we can say, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Would you like to look at transforming a process? Because people aren't going to usually go all in. They want to fix a problem. And then past that, it's kind of our job to migrate that to other aspects of their business area.
You talked a little bit about security early on. Like, how did you get buy-in from your executive team, your security team, your legal team on beginning to roll out AI to the organization, and what organizational policy changes or training has become, come from that?
Well, Google made it very easy, because with the Gemini being a core service, of course, it's covered by all our Enterprise Plus agreements with Google. It is Google infrastructure from start to finish. So there was no question about transmitting data across open channels, or, what is the endpoint where Chat GPT or something like that, or another AI, Notion AI, or what have you, is stored. So it actually went through the vendor assessment very quickly, because it was the same thing that they had already approved. And Gemini for general use was approved immediately. Any other AI, and I said Notion .ai, Notion was a workspace kind of platform. They added AI because it's what you do today. And it went through the same system, and then we found out they didn't have a DPA. There were some questions on how the files were being used. There was human reviewable content, depending on the SKU that you had, because some people were using a free SKU. So if you're free, the product is you. And there were all these other things that cybersecurity had to throw up flag and said, no, this is not. We have to have absolute control over our data. And Google gave us that. And some other AI companies did, and some of the other AI companies didn't. And we just don't have to worry about it. Like Gemini.google.com now being a core service. It's like, poof, not everybody might get a Gemini license, but everybody's going to get trained on Gemini.google.com, or Gemini Web, as we've been calling it internally. So we're going full speed ahead on letting everybody understand how to use that. And one of the things we get asked is that, is my data safe? As long as you use Google. Yep.
Yeah, I would say kind of along those lines, we're really fortunate at Trimble that we have a lot of corporate buy-in from our leadership on this. Like, um, we're cutting edge technology. That's what we do as a company. So we want to be on the cutting edge of the technology out there. So we have a lot of buy-in from our leadership, but with that, we also have a lot of governance around it. So we have an entire kind of AI committee that oversees all the different areas to like look at what AI is being implemented, how it's being implemented, working on some of our own internal AI stuff. And they're also developing policies, and those policies are constantly getting updated, because, how AI worked a month ago is not how it's going to work next month.
Sure.
So that policy is kind of constantly getting updated to reflect the real world that we're living in right now.
And I should remember one other thing, is that talking about the AI, the example I gave of Billberry of the specific pesticide application, things like that, that's Google Cloud. So that's actually an AI application because the photos get sent to the Google Cloud, evaluated, and then spray it or don't spray it is sent back down to the sprayer unit. So that's another AI application that I didn't even think was AI until I sat and reflected on it for a moment.
You talked a little bit about the ethical side or safe AI. So is that grounded in just overall Trimble principles? Does you have a specific AI ethics policy that people abide by?
It starts with Trimble principles. We do have specific ethics policies in training that everybody has every year. And the AI policies, I think, basically follow that. A lot of it is based around privacy, who owns the data, giving credit for sources, double checking anything. You don't want to break any privacy guidelines. You also don't want to misrepresent anything or mislead anybody. So, AI can come up with some great content, but also double check it because AI can also be really, really wrong if it decides to read a prompt incorrectly. So it kind of follows what we already do. It's just, we need to make sure we continue to be proactive in applying those policies throughout the company. And that's actually a big part of the onboarding we do, is that, they do the ethics onboarding, but the training that we do should also reflect that. So people understand what the AI can do, what it can't do, but also what you should do and kind of shouldn't do with it. It's a shortcut, and sometimes shortcuts aren't the quickest way or best way to put something together. You have anything else on that?
No, not really. Just that our cybersecurity also makes us take AI training now.
Yep.
That was a new rolled out like 3 months ago that we all, in addition to our ethics training and our other cybersecurity stuff, now we also take AI training.
Yeah.
Is there anything that, that's always a tough question, is there anything that you're looking forward to that, is just over the horizon, maybe not too futuristic, but that you are, you think is going to come and evolve out of the Google products or the, value you're getting out of Gemini?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to more people adopting it. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more use cases from people using the technology in a way that I haven't imagined. Like, again, taking live photographs of plants and determining whether or not you should spray fertilizer on them is something that I was like, just, mind blown, especially when you see the video of it. It's just crazy. So that's one exciting thing, is to see how people apply it. And the other exciting thing as far as features is that, again, with Gemini, I have no idea what it's going to look like next month or 6 months or a year from now. It's going to be driven by people kind of going, what if? And to figuring out what the next step is. I have ideas on what I can do just working in the Google admin console to help me out with my normal tasks. I'd love to see Gemini help me to, look for hotspots with my user base, or, you see somebody suddenly transfer 10,000 files to a Gmail account or something like that, be proactive about sending me notifications. Absolutely the kind of thing that AI is capable of doing. I'd love to see that sort of thing. So, like a year from now, I have no idea what it's going to look like. I'm just excited to see how things evolve, and I'm excited to see how the people at Trimble adapt it to make us or have us give better solutions to our customers.
Yeah. And I'm really excited about the unknown of it all. I feel like there's so few things like when we're working that are just an unknown. And this is one of those things of what's going to happen a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a year from now, and how, for myself and for my team, how we can adapt what we're doing and rise to the challenge of such a large changing technology, and kind of how it can be implemented to help not just, the engineers and developers, which I think is where a lot of people tend to think of AI being helpful. But I look at it from our, communications people, our training people, how this can help them in the future to do what they're doing so much faster. Like, I know for myself, one thing I hate doing is writing test questions, because I create training, so I have to create tests for it. I hate doing it. But I use Gemini now for it. I upload my documents or whatever, and I'm like, write me 5 quiz questions on this. And it takes so much less time. And it's one of those things that just kind of takes that headache away from me, and I can focus on the actual content and training delivery rather than coming up with 5 questions and their correct answer.
And it is kind of key, focusing on what she brings to the table as a knowledge worker than working as kind of a, a live version of a differential program to show changes over time. Which I was thinking when you were saying that, somebody in legal who has a Gemini license, the day before something's supposed to close, they send you a revised contract. Normally, what are the changes? You put this in one window and this is one window, and hopefully you have something that highlights the differences. Or you ask Gemini, what are the differences between these two documents in Notebook LM? And then not only does it tell you in plain English what the differences are, but it also lets you link directly to those differences so you can see them for yourself if you want to drill down. And again, the kind of thing, as soon as it was said, oh, I get it, I understand it, wouldn't have thought of that myself. Because there's nothing like going through a 50-page legal brief with 12 hours to go before an international close date.
All right. Well, thank you both for coming again. This is a fantastic information to share.